The Storm Giants are a loyalist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes created during an unknown founding. While little information exists regarding the history of the chapter, the Storm Giants are noble and stalwart defenders of the Imperium who have fought with both tenacity and ferocity across a number of notable campaigns against the enemies of man. During the Third War for Armageddon, the Storm Giants would dispatch 5 entire battle companies to aid Imperial forces in their defense of the world against an invading Orc war led by the notorious warlord Ghazghkull Magorok Thraka. Another conflict that the chapter is known to have proven instrumental in was the Second Lastrati Punitive Campaign. In the wake of the initial Lastrati scouring undertaken by the Black Templars chapter, numerous penitent cults would begin to emerge within the surviving civilian population. These cults would become so prominent and influential that total anarchy threatened to consume the entire subsector. In response, the Storm Giants would launch a series of maneuvers that saw the chapter strike against the many influential demagogues and their fanatical followers, allowing Imperial forces to finally restore order to Lastrati. The identity of the first founding legion, from which the chapter is descended from, has been subject for debate, with no concrete records regarding the primogenitor Primarch of the Storm Giants. Despite this, a number of rumors have surfaced in recent years to suggest that the Storm Giants could be a rare successor chapter of the Salamanders, the 18th Legion of the Legione Astartes. While it is unconfirmed if the Storm Giants are truly the sons of the Primarch Vulcan, what is known is that the gene seed of the chapter appears to display a number of unusual quirks. Most notably, the warriors of the Storm Giants have been documented as exhibiting unusually high levels of physical strength, which is shown to even surpass that of other Astartes. The biologists of the Adeptus Mechanicus have petitioned the Storm Giants on multiple occasions with requests to study the chapter's gene seed so as to determine the reasoning behind this enhanced strength. However, these requests have been repeatedly denied by the chapter, leading many to speculate the cause of this apparent quirk within their gene seed. So what could be the reason behind the unusually high levels of strength displayed by the Storm Giants? One possibility, which is speculated within the second publication of the 8th edition Space Marine Codex, is that the Storm Giants have developed a flaw within their Biscopea organ. This particular organ, which is the third implant that an aspirant Astartes receives, is responsible for the production of a series of hormones that, when released into the bloodstream, stimulates and rapidly increases the growth of muscle. It is because of this enhanced musculature that a Space Marine displays near superhuman levels of strength and speed. Because of this, it seems fairly reasonable to assume that the Biscopea of the Storm Giants has simply degraded over time to the point where the organ has become overactive. This in turn results in the musculature of the chapter's warriors to grow and become enhanced to a degree that was never intended. This possibility would appear to be the simplest explanation to account for the enhanced strength that is displayed by the Storm Giants. If the Storm Giants are truly a successor chapter of the Salamanders, as various rumors have insinuated, then the chapter's gene seed could very well prove to be not only incredibly unstable, but potentially riddled with a number of different mutations. This is due to the fact that amongst the 9 loyalist legions of the first founding, the gene seed of the Salamanders has been shown to have a 90% chance of developing flaws and mutations. This high degree of genetic degradation could also provide an additional explanation, at least prior to the introduction of Primaris Marines, as to why the Salamanders from an official standpoint have no successor chapters. As such, given the high rate of mutation that is displayed by Vulcanite gene seed, this means that the possibility of the Storm Giant's Biscopea organ having simply mutated increases exponentially, should the chapter be descended from the 18th Legion, like some have suggested. But if the reason behind the Storm Giants displaying exceptional strength is simply due to a gene seed mutation, then why would the chapter repeatedly deny requests from the Adeptus Mechanicus in order for their genitors to examine this? Enhanced strength caused by an overly stimulated Biscopea organ would not appear to be a flaw that would, at least initially, stress the tolerance of other imperial organizations, such as the Inquisition, especially when you take into account that a number of other chapters display far more egregious and prominent mutations and flaws. It is also worth mentioning that this particular quirk displayed by the Storm Giants is suggested to not only affect the more susceptible baseline Astartes, but also the chapter's Primaris recruits as well. Given that Primaris gene seed is supposedly of a purer and more stable stock, with only a 0.001% chance of genetic degradation, this would seem to imply that the Storm Giant's enhanced strength is unlikely to be caused merely by mutation. That being said, however, Primaris Marines are not entirely immune to the afflictions caused by any genetic flaws displayed by their parent chapter. The Primaris Marines of the Space Wolves chapter, for example, as detailed within the 8th edition Space Wolf Codex, are shown to be capable of succumbing to the gene seed flaw known as the Curse of the Wolfen, which transforms those that contract it into bestial, wolf-like monstrosities. As such, the idea that Storm Giants Primaris recruits are also succumbing to a genetic flaw, while admittedly extremely unlikely, is not a complete impossibility. But there is another potential reason behind the Storm Giants boasting unnaturally high levels of strength compared to other Space Marine chapters, one that would appear to be a more feasible explanation. Could the Storm Giants, in actuality, be making unauthorized alterations to their gene seed? While there is little in the way of concrete evidence to support the notion that the Storm Giants are actively tampering with their gene seed, the idea of a Space Marine chapter attempting to modify their reserves of genetic material is not entirely without precedent. The Black Dragons chapter, for instance, who also happen to be a chapter that is rumored to be descended from the Salamanders, have also been accused of encouraging mutation within their gene seed stock. In the case of the Black Dragons, this mutation is seen with the chapter's osmodular implant, the organ which stimulates bone growth and ossification, resulting in many of the chapter's warriors developing bony crests, spines, horns, and even retractable blade-like protrusions. Because of their utilitarian use in battle, it has been argued that the development of these mutations was far too convenient to have occurred simply through chance. In fact, within the novel Death of Antagonists, it is heavily implied that these mutations are deliberately encouraged by the chapter's apothecaries. The fact that the Storm Giants have repeatedly denied the Adeptus Mechanicus from examining their gene seed would also strongly support the notion that the chapter is tampering with it in some way. While it isn't entirely impossible for the overstimulated Biscopea of the Storm Giants to simply be a result of an admittedly beneficial mutation, the practical battlefield applications gained by the chapter as a result are so convenient that the chances of such a gene seed quirk developing accidentally are next to impossible. But regardless whether the unusually high levels of strength displayed by the Storm Giants are as a result of mutation or deliberate alterations made to their gene seed, one question needs to be asked. Why weren't these quirks discovered earlier from the purity examinations conducted upon the chapter's gene seed tithes? This would most likely be due to the possibility that the apothecaries of the Storm Giants submit gene seed tithes that are drawn from those members of the chapter who have yet to undergo this process to enhance their Biscopea organ, which as a result would allow the chapter to pass the stringent purity tests administered by the Adeptus Mechanicus. Such a process is known to be conducted by the Black Dragons, whose tithes are drawn from those battle brothers with little to no discernible mutations, allowing the chapter's gene seed to be officially classified as pure. If the reasons behind the unnatural strength displayed by the Storm Giants cannot be explained through examinations conducted upon their gene seed tithes, This would only strengthen the notion that the chapter is, for one reason or another, performing unsanctioned experiments upon their chapter's gene seed. Since performing alterations upon gene seed without proper authorization is strictly forbidden within the Imperium, then should it be discovered that the Storm Giants are indeed truly tampering with the Emperor's work, the consequences faced by the chapter would indeed be severe. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.